if there was a murderer who killed people using candy? That would be absolutely insane. That's what we're talking about today, the lethal legacy of the sweet little treats known as candy. I love candy, big candy guy, and I also love lethal legacies. Turns out there are people who have died from eating candy. If you look past the massive obesity crisis or health crisis that plagues the world, candy's been around since troglodytes were eating honey in caves, by the way, so it's not like, the world can exist with candy and people can still be healthy, consumption in moderation, whatever. But if you ever wondered why people, specifically your parents, were so paranoid about checking your Halloween candy, well, it turns out, my friends, that their fears weren't entirely unfounded. There were accidents throughout history, accidental poisonings, deliberate murder. Candy, surprisingly, has a dark history. We're gonna go all the way back to 1858. On October 30th, 1858, the bustling industrial town of Bradford, England, became the epicenter of a tragic event that would change the landscape of food safety regulations, thankfully for us in America. By the way, I really like the idea of strict food safety regulations. It's cool. I like that idea. This incident unfolded in the backdrop of the 1850s, rapid urbanization and rapid industrialization of Britain and the rest of the world, to be honest. These two unstoppable forces had significantly altered the fabric of Victorian England, the social fabric. The reliance on shop purchased food increased dramatically. People went from making everything themselves or, living off of just bread to being able to go to a little shop and buy, a trinket and a ganache or whatever the fuck. As more people are buying food from shops and the demand is increasing, the prevalence of the adulteration of food practices became a real consequence of manufacturers who were seeking to reduce their production costs to make more money. Make more money, cut more corner. Money. William Hardacre, colloquially known as Humbug Billy, worst nickname ever. Just kidding. He was a local confectioner, an absolute legend of the time for lethal legend. Bad reason. He sold 5 pounds of peppermint lozenges at a discounted rate, and unbeknownst to Hardacre and his customers, these seemingly innocuous lozenges harbored a deadly secret. You see, my friends, they had poop. No, they didn't have poop. Now, it's important to note that back in these days, before government oversight and food regulation, people would just mix shit in if it looked kind of similar. For example, I'm sure you've seen videos on YouTube of people, how much flour can you replace with sawdust before bread becomes disgusting? They used to use sawdust in bread to help cut costs. And it's a common theme that has existed for a very long time. They still do that shit at Taco Bell. I don't fucking know, dude. I'm just making shit up. Confectionery processes, specifically in this era, often involve cheaper substitutes for sugar, like powdered gypsum. Looked very similar to sugar. Sugar was high cost. But in this case, Humbug Billy didn't mix up the sugar with gypsum. He mixed up the sugar with arsenic trioxide. Now, I'm no expert, but I've heard a little bit about arsenic, and that's like that fucking Prime Energy Feastables shit, right? That's what that's in that. No, that's not what's in that? Okay, yeah, that's right. There's a little arsenic in everything, just to be clear. Arsenic, lead, cadmium, etc. Humbug Billy sourced his ingredients incorrectly, and it resulted in arsenic trioxide being used instead of gypsum. They look the same, to be fair to old Humbug. Both products were packaged as a clean white powder, and I guess one of them was improperly labeled, and he just killed a lot of people. But within hours of them consuming the poison, several customers began exhibiting symptoms of severe poisoning. Because it was the 1800s, the symptoms initially confounded local physicians. Here's an impression of a physician at the time being confounded by the symptoms of poison. I say, blood from every orifice must be the consumption. Maybe the scarlet rot. I think that's the only 2 Victorian illnesses that were there. Hey, stop it. Sit. 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 Sit now! Before I get angry! There's probably other illnesses, I have no idea. I look so stupid. It's fine to admit it in the comments down below. I've been wearing a hat all day, and Christina cut my hair, and I don't care at all. I just don't give a fuck. Dr. John Henry Bell, who was a perceptive local physician, an Albert Camus de Plague level physician here, he suspected that the sweets may be the source of the illness, and he initiated an investigation into their composition and found that they were full of fucking arsenic and poison. I want to know why they were selling poison. What's the point of arsenic? Why do you use arsenic? What do you do? What do you do with arsenic? Why can people buy a load of arsenic back then? I don't even know where you would get arsenic aside from soil now. How do you even do that? What the fuck? Apple juice. It's an apple juice. It's an apple juice. There's arsenic in apple juice. That's what someone's gonna comment. There's arsenic in apple juice. I tell you what, you drink a gallon of apple juice, good luck not throwing up, all right? Aside from all the jokes that I've been making and how disrespectful I've been of the dead, the death toll reached 20, and over 200 individuals were severely affected by arsenic-laced confections. That's fucked up. I shouldn't be laughing at that, but it's truly a different time. I mean, it's been almost 200 years, 175 years, and, you know, obviously this event negatively impacted Bradford. I'm grateful for the event, though, in spite of the deaths. Obviously, you know, out of terrible things like this come good things like more care in regulation of food production and the widespread practice of, you know, the ending of adulteration and just fucking putting shit in where you're not supposed to put shit. You shouldn't do that, dude. You shouldn't just like lie about stuff. Before this, like we mentioned earlier, there were reports that indicated up to 65% of food samples contained some form of adulterant, which is unbelievable. This event was a catalyst to public outrage, which demanded for stricter regulations. A bunch of fucking people died, and now you can't put gypsum in the sugar anymore. You know, I don't think you could do that anyways. You shouldn't have done that. Anyways, is gypsum healthy? Gypsum health benefits. Oh. Traditional Chinese medicine. I thought gypsum was what they made drywall out of. Can you eat drywall? Is that why people say you eat drywall? Holy shit. Okay, I'm learning right now. That's insane. I didn't realize it was just calcium sulfate. Non-toxic. Weird. I'm gonna eat some fucking drywall. If you're an Oompaville viewer, send me a video of you eating drywall. No, don't do that. Don't do that. Send me a video of you enjoying a delicious bag of Sour Boy sour candy. We put out a bag recently, a little ode to nothing important really. It's a little bag called Mute Fruit, something like that. I don't know. It sold out in like 4 hours, which is really cool. Go to sour.gg and buy some candy. I'm not like Humbug William or whatever the fuck his name is. We take great care in the product that we make. It's candy. You know, it's not healthy by any means. It has natural dyes and natural flavorings. We do make it with care. And if you get something you don't like it, just fucking let us know and we'll make it right. Like, we only care about the satisfaction of people genuinely, and we're absolutely doing our best. It's a small growing business, and I'm so grateful to be a part of it. And I'm so grateful that so many of you guys buy the candy. Go check out Mute Fruit. We're doing a bunch of new flavors. We have all these flavors right now available on the site. Thank you all so much. Thank you to Sour Boys for sponsoring this video. They don't sponsor the video. It's my company. I don't even know how I'm supposed to do that. But this incident also led to the establishment of a national poison register under the Pharmacy Act of 1868, which made things better, by the way, over time. Rest in peace, those 20 people who died from eating candy. I feel bad for them. Now on to the 1950s, 100 years later, the Halloween laxative incident. Way funnier, but still bad. As the 1950s drew to a close, a sinister accident in California cast a long shadow over the beloved tradition of trick-or-treating. The devil's holiday, the devil's practice. All right, I get why she barked at that one. On October 31st, Halloween night, 1959, Halloween festivities in Fremont, California took an unexpected and disturbing turn when Dr. William V. Shine, a local dentist, this guy right here, handsome guy, distributed a tainted candy to unsuspecting children in his neighborhood. What a fucking dickhead. What a fucking asshole, dude. You ruined it for everybody for years and years and years and years. Look at this fucking weirdo, dude. He looks like Simo Haya before he was shot in the head in the Winter War. This evening began, much like any other Halloween, with excited children donning costumes, many in blackface. It was the 1950s. Can I say that? I'm sure they did. I really don't know. I don't know. People were doing it a lot in the 80s. I've seen pictures of like Justin Trudeau. Was that the 80s or the 90s? Or was that the 2000s? I don't know, dude. I don't know, man. I just don't know. It was a different time. I just don't understand it. Kids was eating snacks on that fateful night, and as the night progressed, parents began reporting that their children experienced sudden and severe gastrointestinal distress. They had violent abdominal pain, vomiting, and diarrhea affected dozens of young trick-or-treaters. After the parents dug through their children's bags, they discovered small sugar-coated heart-shaped pills that they believed were responsible for their children's sudden illness. They called the police, they handed them over, and in total, 250 homes were searched and over 400 pills were recovered. Authorities quickly launched an investigation which led them to Dr. Shine's residence, and at first, he denied, because he's a fucking criminal, and he's like, no, these pills aren't mine. I don't like to troll or whatever it's called. The kids are calling it these days. I'm not a bit of a troll, all right? I don't want to do that very much. But then the police discovered that these were pharmaceutical aloe pills that were to be used as laxative. They immediately returned to the doctor's home to find that he was not there, and it became apparent that the dentist had deliberately laced candies with potent laxatives before distributing them to fucking children. Children suffered from violent illness as a result of Dr. Shine's actions, and they experienced, you know, lots of pooping and required medical attention. It's fucked up, and no fatalities were reported, fortunately, but the physical distress that was experienced by the children didn't quite match the psychological impact on the community. And just from now on, it was like the first big time that people started lacing candies, all right? The trust and the safety of the Halloween tradition was ruined. Look at this headline. Fear of tainted candy prompts wide concern for Halloweeners. Wiener. Halloween with its tales of witches and goblins and ghouls has always been a holiday making fun of you. I think the Halloween in the 70s and 60s and 50s and 40s and 30s just had to be better, you know? It just seemed like maybe it was better. Aside from all like the racist stuff, it just seems like before the internet, times were better, man. I just remember being a child and fucking enjoying spending so much time with my friends and stuff. I feel like I'll never have that type of feeling again. So I'm gonna have to murder. I'll have to kill to feel again. Not really. I just kind of look like a murderer. I don't really actually have any, you know, I don't want to kill anybody. I'm just joking around. I just say things that aren't true. Just in case you're new and you're like watching this and you're freaked out and you're like, Christina, he's Christina's boyfriend. He's gonna kill her. I won't. I don't know, dude. I'm just fucking around right now. It's scary. I'm scaring myself. Dr. Shine was immediately charged with outrage of public decency and unlawful dispensing of drugs. He's a piece of shit. And this turned the public perception of Halloween and Halloween candy entirely on its head. And now on to the absolute craziest story of all these. The Candyman. Ronald OBrien. 15 years later, on Halloween night, a quiet suburban community of Deer Park, Texas became the setting for a heinous crime that would forever, once again, alter the perception of Halloween safety in America. Ronald OBrien, a 30-year-old ugly person, a 30-year-old optician and church deacon, embarked on a seemingly innocent trick-or-treating excursion with his children and their neighbors. However, beneath the facade of a devoted father lay a man driven to desperate measures by mounting financial pressures. This guy looks scary. I can't tell if he's in an outfit or that's just what he looks like. O'Brien was burdened by over $100,000 in debt, which is equivalent to approximately $600,000 in 2024. So a lot of money, a ton of money. And he was saddled with a history of job instability as well. O'Brien meticulously planned a scheme, and in the weeks leading up to Halloween, he had taken out multiple life insurance policies on his children, totaling $60,000 with a significant $20,000 policy added just days before the night. Now, saying that, reading that out loud, you can already see where this is going. This guy planned on murdering his children and collecting the life insurance policies. That's fucking just, I don't even know. It's insane. It's just fucked up. It's like, I didn't even know this was a thing. And like, just kill. Ronald, with his two kids, Timothy and Elizabeth, and their neighbor and their two kids, along with some other neighborhood children, all engaged in their trick-or-treating on that night. The journey, right? The trick-or-treating journey. Hello, trick-or-treat, smell my feet. Sometimes people do say no and they don't answer, and that was the case on this fateful night. After one house didn't answer, the children moved on to the next house, but Ronald decided to stay behind for some reason. And when he rejoined the group, he had 5 giant 21-inch long pixie sticks with him that he claimed to have received from the house that didn't answer. By the way, pixie stick is like a big fucking thing full of sugar. I love pixie sticks. They're one of my favorite. I used to eat the paper as well. I don't think you're supposed to do that, but I would eat the whole thing, the dyes on the paper, all that. Bad for you. All right, guys, that's where I'm at now. All right? It's part of the reason for my immense success. All right, my immense success and intelligence. Where do you even get a 21-inch pixie stick? All right, this motherfucker gave one to Timothy and one to Elizabeth, his daughter, and 2 to the other neighbor's children. And the last pixie stick was given to 10-year-old Whitney Parker as they passed him on the way home. Unbeknownst to the children, these candies were full of potassium cyanide, each one with enough potassium cyanide to kill 2 to 3 grown men each. But before bed that night, Ronald allowed each of his children to choose a piece of candy, and Timothy, the older of his 2 children, had originally picked a lollipop or a sucker, but his father told him that there wasn't time for a sucker and suggested the big old pixie stick instead. When his son began eating the pixie stick, he complained about its bitter taste, and Ronald responded by giving him Kool-Aid to wash down the literal potassium cyanide in the pixie stick. Soon after drinking the Kool-Aid, Timothy had severe symptoms and he died before arriving at the hospital. And his father killed him, by the way. It's absolutely fucked up. Timothy was dead, and Ronald played the part of the grieving father very well. He wept at Timothy's funeral, and he would also assist the police in the investigation, and he led them to the house where the pixie sticks had came from. The house belonged to Courtney Melvin, who had an alibi. She was working at the airport on Halloween night. Due to the rock-solid alibi, police began investigating Ronald, and they uncovered his financial hardships and the recent life insurance policies that he'd taken out in Timothy's name. And then that revealed that one of Ronald's customers at the eyeglasses store where he worked was a chemical salesman who Ronald had asked about poison and where to buy it, and the knife that was used to open the pixie sticks was found with candy residue still on the blade. So Timothy died. What about Elizabeth and the other neighborhood children that had received the poisoned candies? Luckily, they were safe. They had never ingested it, but one boy, Whitney Parker, who'd ran into Ronald and the O'Brien children by chance that night, receiving the final pixie stick as a gift, had fallen asleep with a pixie stick in his hand. He couldn't remove the staples that Ronald had crudely used to reseal the candy. This fucking lunatic did this for a $20,000 life insurance policy, killed his own children, and was willing to sacrifice, just kill a bunch of people for this. It's horrifying. This is one of the most perplexing crimes, murders I've ever seen in terms of motive. Like, why? For like a little bit of money. Just a little bit of money. Why not rob a bank or something? Do something else instead of murdering your children. He was sentenced to death, by the way, so there's a little bit of a bright side. This is back when they sentenced people to death. Nearly 10 years after he murdered his son with a poisoned pixie stick, he appealed his death sentence and it was rejected, and while on death row, his fellow death row inmates gave him the moniker Candyman. And, you know, that's kind of an I don't know, it's unfortunate. It's kind of a cool name. I wish we wouldn't have got that, but he died on March 31st, 1984 by lethal injection. What happened in the 50s sparked a little bit of fear for people in Halloween, but what happened in the 70s absolutely killed the original aura that Halloween had, the original trust, the original safety that people had. It's just so much paranoia. After Ronald fucking, I don't know, dude. You know, it makes sense that people inspect stuff. It really does make sense. Ronald, by the way, in case you're wondering, rests in piss at the Forest Park East Cemetery, and his gravestone bears the word son on it only, not father or husband, because he is not a father, and his wife divorced him after the truth was revealed. He's in hell, burning eternally. Fast forward to the future now, to Pakistan in 2016, when over 30 people died as a result of poisoned sweets that were bought at a shop there in Pakistan. A batch of laddus, these delicious looking ball-shaped things, they look so fucking good. It's a popular treat for special occasions that come in all sorts of different variations. They were poisoned by a sweet shop owner who took a family dispute to the next level. This guy was petty as fuck. He mixed the laddus with pesticides and mass poisoned over 70 people, killing 30. It looks so delicious. I mean, what are these things, dude? I'd fucking eat a poisoned one. One story explaining the mass poisoning was an 18-year-old had supposedly poisoned the laddus as an act of revenge for abuse he'd been the victim of from his older brother who owned the shop. 2 other people also claimed to have been responsible for the poisoning, which is weird that so many people are coming forward to claim responsibility for this. And the owner of a nearby pesticide shop told the police that he was the one who poisoned the laddus after a dispute he'd had with the sweet shop owner. So I don't know who the fuck did it. A lot of people are just like, I did it. I don't know why you're saying, I don't know, it's kind of, maybe they all did it. I don't know how it works. So 3 conflicting admissions are obviously concerning. Police, I mean, what do police, how are they getting 3 conflicted? I mean, they're saying, did you do this? And they're like, yes, no. So you said yes, okay. The BBC reported on this incident and raised some concerns of some potential Pakistani authorities forcing confessions, which does happen. It has happened before, all right? It has happened a couple times every now and then. Whoever did it, regardless, I mean, that is the most cowardly thing a human being can do. You just poison food just poisoning food that innocent people will consume. Of the 30 victims, 11 of them were members of the same family that had purchased the Ladus in celebration of a son being born. The dead included the newborn's father, and 5 of the victims were children. It's fucked up, man. I just can't believe that this has happened so many times. It's important to check the stuff you're eating before you eat it, especially like on Halloween, and just being aware of what you're consuming. And man, sometimes there's just not really much you can do. You just go to a coffee shop and some guy had a bad day and he poisoned your lemon loaf. I mean, that fucking sucks. That could, I guess, happen, but I don't know. Life's a little scary.